Define first the scope of your analysis. What are you actually trying to measure? What will you do with that number? Yes, this is exactly what you need to do before creating a segment in Google Analytics. Funnel analysis, audience profiling, channel performance, or simple reporting. These are all different scopes that require different tools. Because most analysts open the segment builder before defining the scope of their analysis. And that is when the problems start. Well, here's a part that surprises most people. Once you have clearly defined the scope of your analysis, the honest answer is that you don't need a segment at all. Very frequently, the right dimension and a well-placed filter will probably get you there. Sometimes it's even faster with less risks and all the limitations that segments impose. Segments, in fact, are a very powerful tool, but they come with limitations and constraints that most analysts realize only after they finish the analysis. Hi, my name is Paolo, and in this channel we look at how data analytics can help you drive better results for your business. We don't focus here on the buttons that you need to click, but on the thinking logic that determines whether the numbers that you see are actually useful to you. In this video, we will focus on segments. I will tell you how they work, when they will be useful to you, and when they can actually mislead you. Then we will cover the different segment types, being user scope, session scope, and event scope. And I will help you understand which segment type is the right for you. And finally, we will cover some real use cases. We will go through some real life examples that will help you understand when a segment is the right call and when it isn't. So how to create a segment in GA4? Well, Google Analytics offers you three different segment types: user-based, session-based, and event-based. Each single one of them operates at a different unit of data. And in a second, we'll get very deep into it. The complexity, in fact, comes beforehand in choosing the right segment, not the interface or creating the segment per se. So this tool that I'm using is a demo account, and if you're relatively new to GA4, it is something worth knowing about. Google, in fact, provides a free demo account connected to the Google Merchandise Store that you can access and explore whenever you want without needing personal and proprietary data. And of course, I will leave you the link to it in the description. So let me share my screen and show you where the segments actually live in GA4. In fact, segments can only be built inside explorations, not in the standard and default GA4 reports. So all you need to do to create a segment is to navigate to the Explore section, run a new exploration, open the segment panel, click the plus, and you'll be prompted to choose your segment type. So let's build one for each type: user segment, session segment, and event segment, using the same condition, add to cart event. A few things that are worth mentioning as we create the segments are the following. So first of all, segments are built on filters. And as you can see, those support two types of logic: the AND and the OR logic. If you need multiple conditions to all be true simultaneously, for example, a specific country and a specific event, you should use the AND logic. If either condition being true is enough to include that unit in the segment, well, the OR logic is for you. That distinction matters a lot the more complex your segment becomes. Secondly, on the right-hand side of the segment builder, you will see a pie chart that shows you how many users, sessions, or events belong to that segment. And this is gold, guys. This is genuinely useful because it gives you a sense of the segment's weight before applying it. So it means that you're not blind when the numbers land in your explorations. You can see how much the segment weights beforehand. So we've technically created segments. As you can see, it's very useful. But the real question is, what's the difference between these numbers? How do we know which one to choose? So let's walk you through a real life situation. Your manager comes to you and asks you, how many add to carts do we have? And you're not sure what to do, but you're positive that you can pull some numbers together. So you go to G4, open the Explorer, and create the segments. And as you do it, you realize that there are three segment types. So you create all of them with the add to carts filter. And here's the situation that you find yourself in. Three different numbers that are completely different and that tell completely different stories. Let me uncover the truth here. The user-based segment returns about 10,000 sessions, about 1,000 transactions, and $176,000 in revenue. That looks like a solid result, but let's look at what is actually counting. Those are not sessions where an add to cart occurred. Those are sessions belonging to users who added something to a cart at some point during the analysis period. And that includes every other visit those users made, whether they browsed, bounced, or did nothing remotely related to a purchase or an add to cart. So for example, if within a time frame a user does a session in which actually adds something to the cart, then bounces, and then later on does other two different sessions without any add to carts, well, the session count will be free for that segment. And the same goes for all the other KPIs, such as revenues or transactions. Basically, we're pulling in transactions from sessions that had nothing to do with add to cart behavior. Which, I mean, in this specific case, it does not impact a lot because to complete a purchase, you have to add to cart. But if you're pulling any other KPI or another filter, it might be a problem. Of course, I don't have to tell you this is not a mistake. This is technically correct. It's just how G4 is set up to track the numbers. So let's look now at the session-based segment, which brings the session count down to about 4,500 sessions. Let me give you a spoiler. This may be a number that is more aligned with what your expectations are. Every session in this segment, in fact, contained at least one add to cart event. The revenue in the transactions also slightly lower, but I mean, let's focus on sessions here. The event-based segment returns the exact same number as the session-based segment by filtering for add to carts. And again, this is not a mistake. This tells you that the tracking on the website is perfectly clean and very well implemented. There are no tracking errors. In fact, if these two numbers would have diverged, well, that would have been a signal that your tracking might have been broken. Another thing that might be weird to you is the revenue count and the transactions, which are both at 0. But again, this is not a mistake, it's simply how G4 works. A session-based segment follows the session up until the very end of it. So if a transaction happens, well, that transaction is recorded through an event that is recorded and processed within that session. So the session segment will track it. But if you look at an event segment, well, the event only tracks the event and it doesn't follow the session or the user. So it's basically not able to tell you whether the user or the session actually converted because it just stops there at the event that you're trying to filter. It doesn't go further. That's why I would recommend to use event-based segments more for debugging rather than performance tracking. So you decide to go forward and present the numbers of the session-based segment to your manager, which are actually representing the number of sessions that include also an add to cart. This seems to you like the most insightful number that you've been able to pull from G4. But then your manager asks for a follow-up. How many items added to the cart do we actually have? He goes on telling you, I don't care how many sessions actually clicked on the add to cart button. I care how many items were added to a cart. 10, 1, 2, and I want to maximize that number. So you go back to G4 and discover that there are actually two different metrics, not segments, metrics that track add to carts. And well, they don't represent the same thing. Let me show you real quick. Add to carts count the number of times users triggered the add to cart event, which is, in this case, 10,891. Items added to the cart counts the individual products added across all those events, 34,738. So basically, one user adding 3 items to their cart in a single session counts as one in add to cart event, but 3 times in items added to the cart. So what I'm trying to say is that before jumping into segments, you need to first take a step back and ask yourself, what's the scope of my analysis? Because choosing the wrong segment, as per the user-based segment, for example, might give you a number that looks reasonable, but, well, has nothing to do with the user behavior that you're trying to track. And that goes without saying that is a beginner mistake, especially when there is a metric that does exactly what you need to track. So this brings us to the last part of our video. When are segments actually useful? So let's take a closer look at when segments can be of real added value to you. And for this reason, I've selected two different use cases. So the first one that we will discuss using some numbers that I've extracted from the Google demo account is session-based funnel analysis. So what you need to know is that Google already tracks the funnel in the monetization section, specifically inside the purchase journey and the checkout journey. But the problem is that the default metric that is used is active users. And unfortunately, you cannot change that. So if you want to track sessions at the different steps of the funnel, well, you could do it with segments, and specifically a session-based segment. And it goes without saying that this is the use case where the session-based segment filtered by add to carts comes in handy. So let me walk you through an example using the upper funnel, which is the funnel that starts with session start and ends with begin checkout. This type of analysis is extremely helpful in tracking the engagement of your users within your digital product. But it can also be useful in detecting bugs or tracking errors that might go unnoticed within the aggregate reports. You can use these also for tracking custom funnel steps. So for example, you can track PLP views, which are not custom and default events in Google Analytics. But I consider the funnel a very big topic on which there is a lot to say. So if you're interested, drop a comment below and I will make a dedicated video on this. So as you can see from my screen, the active users that are tracked at the session start step of the funnel, the very first step of the upper funnel, are about 77,000. And those active users are actually making the most of the 93,000 sessions that are tracked at the session start. Okay, let's now look at the second use case that I've prepared, which is audience profiling. So let's build together a user-based segment combining multiple conditions, such as age, interest, country of residence, gender, and so on. And in this case, segments are very useful to profile and surgically select and identify the performance of that specific group and compare it against a broader user group, like your total users, or to understand whether a marketing campaign, such as an email marketing campaign, has actually been effective within the target audience. So this is the use case where a user-based segment genuinely outperforms expectations. I think that user-based segments are very helpful for user profiling, especially during exploration phases. Because when you don't know who your best customers are, for example, the high spenders or those more engaged, well, you're a bit blind, right? Well, segments can help you navigate this complexity, and I would suggest you to use the pie chart on the right of the segment builder to understand the size of the audience that you're trying to target. Let's make an example. As you can see, you can use segments to quickly isolate users who match specific conditions, a particular country, age bracket, or interest, and then compare them against your total user base or other cohorts. In the example shown here, a segment of high spenders account for just 1.3% of sessions, but actually drives 7.4% of total revenues. And that's the kind of insights that really drives business decisions, right? And that's the kind of insight that really helps you make better decisions, especially when it comes to marketing strategy. So let me put together everything that we've discussed in this video. What should you do before creating a new segment? Well, start with the scope of your analysis. Ask yourself, what do I need this data for? Is it for funnel performance, landing page analysis, channel performance, or maybe just simple management and executive reporting? No matter what, especially given the complexity of GA4, the analytical scope comes before the actual selection and extraction of the KPI. So for the case of add to carts and the example that we've seen in this video, when your manager comes over to you and asks, how many add to carts do we have? Or similar questions, well, don't panic and try to revert the question back to them. Well, why do we need add to carts? Do we actually need to understand the engagement of the users on our website? Because if yes, well, maybe we need a more structured funnel analysis. Because to be honest, engagement and purchase intent cannot and should not only be tracked using add to carts. So once the scope is clarified, then you can move on to the next step and ask yourself, do I actually need a segment to do this? Because if the right dimension paired with the right metric, as for the case of add to carts, together with a proper filter respond to your question, well, go with that. Because trust me, that's the cleaner path. Less complexity, fewer constraints, and in general, more defendable numbers that are easier to interpret. But wait, am I telling you that you should not use segments? Of course not. Segments are a very useful tool that you should use when you need to compare different sets of data, when you need to apply multiple conditions, and in general, when you need a logic that standard reporting and standard dimensions and metrics simply cannot stand. But go in with your open eyes, because there are limitations and risks. For example, you can only apply a maximum of 4 segments for each exploration. Additionally, as we have seen, there are 3 types of segments: session-based, user-based, and event-based, which operate at a fundamentally different logic and that can be very easily misinterpreted. So this is all about segments, but if you are a beginner and you want to learn more about Google Analytics, well, I would recommend you watch this other video about the 3 main important things that you need to learn if you want to understand how your digital data is built. So thanks for watching this video. If you like this content, don't forget to hit the like button and follow Polyedric for more. Bye!